Have you ever been sitting in a window seat, cruising miles above the clouds, and just had that moment of how? How is this gigantic 400-ton metal tube just hanging out in the sky? It feels like it should be impossible, right? Well, the science behind it is actually surprisingly elegant. So let's break it down.
I mean, really, think about it. We're talking about a machine that can weigh as much as 100 elephants. How does it defy gravity? Well, it's not magic, it's pure physics. And it all boils down to one single core idea.
The absolute key to understanding how a plane flies is this. When it's in steady, level flight, all the forces acting on it are perfectly balanced out. It's this beautiful equilibrium, this perfect dance of forces pushing and pulling, that keeps that massive machine suspended in the air.
Okay, so to really get a grip on this balance, we need to meet the four main players in this game. I want you to picture it like a constant, high-stakes tug-of-war happening thousands of feet in the air.
All right, here they are. You've got thrust, that's the engines blasting, pushing the plane forward. Fighting against that is drag, which is just air resistance pushing back. Then you've got weight, good old gravity, always pulling the plane down. And the hero of our story, the force that keeps it all up, is lift. So you can see the battle lines drawn pretty clearly, right? For a plane to stay in the air, lift has to be equal to weight, and to keep moving forward, thrust has to be equal to drag. It's this constant, delicate dance between these four opposing forces that makes flight possible.
Okay, so we get it. Thrust fights drag, and lift fights weight. Simple enough, but where does that magical upward force of lift actually come from? How does a simple wing create it? Well, it turns out the wing has two very clever tricks up its sleeve that it uses at the same time.
Trick number one is all about the wing's special shape. You'll notice it's curved on the top and a bit flatter on the bottom. So as the plane speeds down the runway, air hits the front of the wing and splits. The air that goes over the top has a longer path to travel, so it has to speed up to meet the air from the bottom at the same time. And here's the really cool part. Thanks to a guy named Bernoulli, faster moving air has lower pressure. So you end up with high pressure under the wing pushing up and low pressure on top basically sucking it up. And boom, that's lift.
Now, the second secret is something you have probably felt for yourself. Have you ever stuck your hand out of a moving car window? If you hold it flat, not much happens. But if you tilt your hand up into the wind just a little bit, you feel a really strong push upwards, right? That's because your hand is literally deflecting air downwards.
Well, that tilt has a technical name. It's called the angle of attack. By tilting the wing up into the wind, it physically shoves air down. And Newton's third law tells us that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So the more air the wing pushes down, the more the air pushes the wing up. You have both the pressure difference and this physical push working together to create all that amazing lift. And this is how pilots are constantly playing with the physics of flight. You see, if they want to slow the plane down but stay at the same altitude, they have to increase that angle of attack. They tilt the nose up a bit, making the wings work harder to generate the same amount of lift at a slower speed. Then, if they speed up, they can lower the nose. It's this constant adjustment, this beautiful dance between speed and angle. Okay, so we've met the four forces, and we know the wing's two big secrets for creating lift. So now, let's put all the pieces together and see how a pilot actually uses this stuff to get a massive jet off the ground and into the sky.
Now here's something that might actually surprise you. A lot of people think that to climb, a plane just creates more lift, but that's not it. A plane climbs because of excess thrust. Think about it like driving a car up a steep hill. You can't just wish your way up. You have to step on the gas to give the engine more power. It's the exact same for a plane. The pilot pushes the engines to full power, creating way more thrust than drag, and it's that extra forward power that pushes the plane up into the sky.
Then, once the plane reaches its cruising altitude, the pilot will ease back on the engines. And at that moment, everything returns to that perfect state of balance we talked about at the very beginning. The thrust perfectly matches the drag, and the lift perfectly matches the weight. The four forces are in harmony, and the plane just sails along smoothly and efficiently, miles above the Earth. So steady flight is all about keeping things in balance. But to turn, descend, and land, pilots have to very carefully and deliberately unbalance these forces. So let's take a look at how they manage this incredible art, especially when it comes to landing. So what happens if you increase that angle of attack too much? You get something called a stall. Now this does not mean the engines have quit. It's a common mix-up.
A stall is an aerodynamic thing. It means the airflow can no longer hug that smooth curve of the wing. I love this analogy of cars trying to take a turn that's just too sharp. They lose their grip and fly off the road. The air does the exact same thing, detaching from the wing and causing a sudden and pretty scary loss of lift.
So if tilting the wing up too much at low speed is dangerous, how on earth do planes fly slow enough to land? You need a way to generate a ton of lift at very low speeds. And for this, pilots use a brilliant tool, flaps. These are sections on the back edge of the wing that extend down and out, basically changing the whole shape of the wing to make it way more curved.
These flaps are just game changers for landing. They give the wings a massive boost in lift, which lets the plane fly really, really slow without stalling. But they also do something else just as important. They create a ton of drag. They act like giant air brakes. This combination is what allows the pilot to make a steep descent for landing without building up too much speed, leading to a nice, smooth touchdown.
You know, here's a really neat way to think about the whole thing. An airplane is kind of like a meta wing. What does that mean? It means it uses its mini wings, the blades inside a jet engine or propeller, to create thrust and move forward. And that forward motion is what allows its big wings to move through the air and push a massive amount of air down, which is what keeps the entire thing flying. It's this beautiful, self-powering cycle. And that kind of leaves us with one final thought. Now that you know that flight is all about wings moving through the air to create lift, what do you think happens if both engines were to fail? Does it just drop like a stone? Absolutely not. As long as it has altitude, which it can trade for speed, an airplane is actually an incredibly effective glider. That forward motion keeps air flowing over the wings, keeps generating lift, and gives the pilots plenty of time to find a safe place to land. It's not magic, it's just an amazing, incredible balancing act of physics.